Goliath. Yes, no licking my feet. Yes, lay down. Yes, I love you. Yes, you and your funny lizard eyes. Yes, yes, lay down. Greetings, brothers and sisters, and good evening.
Good evening, Theial.
This is the first time we get to say that expression to you.
Yeah, I guess so. We've had a fun girls' day out.
Good.
I was really happy to have David go out and about and interact with other humans that don't drain him.
It is important that he does so. In fact, one of the parts of the lesson today, and I guess we should say it first, there are things that we're going to be teaching today, part of what we need to say that goes directly to him as a lesson. And this is going to be based on a principle that we gave him a long time ago. And just because the foundation was set doesn't mean that his mind was ready for the information that would be set upon it. What has made it so is this conversation, the willingness to be able to interact, the power of two minds joining and opening in conversation that allowed this to come forth. So we wanted to point that out of how important interaction is with each other and to thank you for that part. Much good has come from the willingness to simply converse.
And wow, I didn't even connect that. I think you have a hint of what I wanted to talk about today. And regardless, it's going to fit with whatever your agenda is, the topic I wanted to bring up today. So, whenever you're ready, I don't know if you have anything else to say before I start.
The first part is yours. What questions do you have for us today?
It's not so much a question as opposed to more of a open conversation that I think is very important, especially in the 21st century. And it's really the role of technology in understanding our minds and in our spiritual evolution, if you want to call it that. So I'm working on a project, and I'm bringing this up because I know I can talk to you about it, and when I talk about this topic with David or anyone else, it's usually met with some sort of resistance, or some sort of feeling shame, or oh, that's interesting at best. Come here, Goliath. Goliath. No. I love you. Yes. So, my husband gave me his last cell phone, and I'm in the process of transferring over my SIM card and everything to that phone. But for the longest time, it hasn't felt right. Actually, none of this technology has felt right for me. And it didn't hit me until I was in Germany, and I didn't use my phone really except for a map and then communicating with my husband. And I placed an order, and it should be coming in today, but a basic talk and text phone, nothing else. And I'm doing a project from middle of this month to Halloween of not having a smartphone and just that. And I want to see how much of my energy and time has gone into a smartphone, and I really think that I've been feeling more and more disconnected from people and from life, and not in a negative way, but I really want to see if encouraging just a phone call as opposed to sending memes and TikToks and quick little emails would help with connecting with other people. Just like we were talking, like you brought up, interacting with Holly was a good thing. And then the other thing I noticed is, as I'm noticing the incessant thoughts going on in my head more and more, and as I'm separating from it more and more, I find myself listening to audiobooks more, to constantly having music in the background. Um, and even in my sex life, I find that I'm going to porn more and more. And it seems like I'm reverting to technology to distract myself more and more. And I said, fuck it, let me try an experiment. Let me go a few months without a smartphone, without constant music, audiobooks, podcasts, and really sit with whatever's going on in my mind. So that's what I'm doing. And I just want to open up a conversation about the role of digital technology and our digital connectedness and spiritual evolution. So I just wanted you to know that, and I'll take it from there.
And on that note, we will definitely answer, but ironically, we're going to send the channel back for a second and he'll explain why. And you'll understand the why we said ironically. So give us a moment. I gotta get my hearing aids in.
Okay.
While I'm channeling, my brain is freaking out and overriding their signal
Okay.
because it's
Hold on, let me get your hearing aids.
it's 100% in reaction mode because I'm hearing half the sound I should.
Okay. Where are your hearing aids, actually?
They're on the dresser, left-hand side.
Oh, there they are. They're hidden back there.
Thank you.
I like how they were just patiently listening. I thought it was going to be a moment for you to say, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, no, the brain has now gotten accustomed to hearing with the hearing aids.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only thing it was doing was in reaction mode, trying to figure out what was wrong. Why can't I hear? And it was actually overriding me being able to sit back. Which is interesting, considering channel state, conscious state, and what they've said about the body reacting to something as far as being okay, not okay, that it will override both.
And it is really ironic. It's really ironic since this is a discussion about the digital age. So did you hear what I said? Actually, let me pee while we're out of trance.
Well, that's going to be on before we record it, so.
Okay.
I'm sure everyone out there will be appreciative that Mansoor just went to the bathroom.
Oh, of course. I'm gonna wash my hands too.
One would hope.
Have you thought of doing bloopers and outtakes like at the end of the videos?
I don't think people are ready for spiritual bloopers.
Oh man, I am. All right, let's get back to it.
And now to answer your question.
I understand the irony, and I think that was very ironic.
Indeed. Humor often arranges itself nicely. It's moments like these that we say, you realize and sit back that God has a wonderful sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let us deal with the issue. On the note of technology, there's nothing wrong with technology any more than there's something wrong with that book or pen. We will always circle it back to the perceiver, and therein lies the issue. It is not the technology that is the issue. It is the attachment that people use with it that becomes the obsessiveness, that becomes the issue. And an interesting note on this, we have said about the fact that the realm of the ego and its outward extension was an experiment of experience to see what connection like that would be in life, to purposely disconnect yourselves from all that is. One step further, to express what you believed was the self, and the multitude of errors that has occurred from it within your mind. We say error not in the form of judgment, but error in the form of the experience that it creates for you. And literally, the jail cell that it has become. With this new technology that's advancing now, it becomes one step even further. Now you don't need to relate to yourselves as the vehicle. Now you've taken it a step further and relate to yourself as the digital self.
The avatar.
Correct. The personality presented on your social platforms. The sexual self you find from your research into subject of porn.
Research, I like that.
We thought we'd put it in a more polished way. The expressions that you find, the safety of being able to express that part of yourself with no consequence. And we say no consequence as into the physical consequence because it does not involve another. The growing trend to treat each other in the same way. Sexually, you have evolved to treat each other as your digital selves and not your physical selves. Which is why there are so many that can only be sexual in the imaginative digital world. But the moment that you turn on the light and say, come here and let us physically engage, no one shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Because their sexual self is not physical. It is digital. It is imaginative. And so it creates a disharmony in the body that the sexual side cannot actually physically express itself in physical terms. And this has created a myriad of issues within your vehicles, within your relationships, within your society, as well as the other aspects of your digital selves. Is there an issue? Well, as one would say, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to step back and look at the truth of it.
You want something a step further, funnier? It doesn't take a rocket surgeon, a mix of brain surgeon and rocket scientist. Ha 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 ha.
Very clever.
I didn't come up with that.
So you see our point.
Mm-hmm.
But as spirit, we're always going to revolve it back to the mirror. Who is the one staring at the image? That would be you. And who is that? And why does it seek to know itself? Through these things, through these obsessions. And what is it hoping to attain? Because understand, the two roads don't meet. The premise of what you said was that technology would bring you to the point of being closer to yourself.
I think that was the intention.
It's the selling package. It was never the intention.
Mm-hmm.
It was the selling package. We had the best of intentions.
I know you're excited.
When the truth of it is, but wait, you haven't dealt with the issues you currently have. How is adding this on to those issues, like adding gasoline to a fire, going to resolve anything? Won't it create a bigger fire? And so it has.
Mm-hmm. So when you say, but the issues haven't, I'm paraphrasing, but the issues hadn't been resolved, hence it's just adding gasoline to the fire. Can you elaborate on that?
Certainly. Who is within that vehicle? Has these tools given you a clarity? Or has it given you a new way to disturb that image? To project it one step further from the truth?
So there's already this lack of clarity before the digital age, this lack of clarity in self, not really understanding the mind, everything that we've been talking to. And though the package being sold to us was, it gives you, it connects you more, it gives you access to all this information, yada, yada, yada. What it's been doing in actuality is not resolving the issue, but taking us one step further back. Whereas the normally, I guess for however long it's been, you're not your body, you're not your emotions, you're not your thought, though we get caught up in thinking that. Now there's an extra layer of the digital self that we're identifying. So it's like a fourth layer almost.
Correct.
Okay.
And what we are about to say could be perceived as looking at it in a very negative point of view. And that's when the bleeding heart will come up and say, but that's not everybody. And we would agree, that is not everybody. So now let us explain, and then we'll step back and look at that again. So you have someone, and create the image of your mind, whoever it is that you want to see. And through the digital self that's available in all of its avenues, you have individuals creating profiles built on the image of what it is that they want everyone to see, and living through that digital self image. And now becomes a new image that they must protect. If anyone says anything to harm that image, they react violently, digitally, to defend it.
It's an added layer to the mannequin?
Correct. That is what we're getting at.
Okay.
Let us go through the full explanation so those who are listening can truly step back and see the wonders of this. You have created terms like bullying online. Because if someone says something, hear this out, if someone says something against this digital self, oh my, it causes harm. We need a police force to stop this bullying. So much, in fact, that it becomes a concern that suicide is the end result because someone bullied the digital self. So how serious do people take this? Quite serious. And it doesn't come out into the digital self that is presented in what would be called the acceptable lights on part of society. What about the darker regions?
What do you mean by the lights on acceptable part of society?
The one that you would show your work, the one that you would show your friends, the one that church members are invited to join.
Ah, okay.
That profile. But as your siblings would say, now we journey into the dark meme file. The side of the phone that keeps what you don't want others to see, that many people are mostly using it for.
Basically, you don't want to show what you like shoved up your ass. Sorry, that was crude.
That was crude. But in truth, yes. There are those who have entire digital selves based on that, of the attention that they receive from doing acts like that. And it sounds like we are judging the act. We are not. Sexual expression is natural, as long as it does not violate will and cause harm. Which, for information purposes, sets a clear boundary for age limits for those who do not know themselves sexually or have the will and understanding to make such choices, and to have them thrust upon them before that naturally develops is inappropriate. It is inappropriate. But yet that is part of the conversation. Now we paint a larger picture. So we have the societal self, well, the societal digital self, and the sexual digital self. The societal digital self is projecting all the things that it wants people to see and think that it is, but yet does not attain them in physical life. It's a projection.
As in, this isn't actually what's going on, but I'm projecting an image. So, for example, I'm on vacation at the beach. I'm thinking of someone in specific. I'm on a vacation at the beach with my family. Here's a picture of the sunrise. Here's a picture of us with, I don't know, margaritas. But in actuality, they're not doing well.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good example.
They're actually, I think, pretty miserable, but that's not what they're showing.
That is not what they're showing. They're also not showing the financial effects of making such choices. And believe it or not, sometimes people outright lie and make it seem like they went when they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be able to have a successful image that they want people to perceive. They are looking for the attention. They are looking for the approval. And they gain this through the digital self. Now we have the sexual side of the digital self. And this goes beyond just the casual strolling through porn, where you can have a particular flavor of interest, but you'll never personally act on that. That is an issue within itself. But now let's add some layers to this painting we are doing. We have those who are sexually in nature and show that to the world.
As in they're open about their sexuality?
More than they're open about their sexuality, they are entertainers. They have a group of people very interested in what they are showing.
Digitally?
Of course.
Okay.
They gain attention from this. The attention is very important. How many followers? How many seekers? How fast is it growing? How many new people added?
To clarify, you're talking about, what is it, OnlyFans or fans only would be an example?
No, that would be honest. That is an honest display.
Mm-hmm.
They are selling a product and open about it,
Yeah.
while understanding the costs of doing so. No, this is about the dishonesty. The ones who do it for followers and nothing more. In both situations of the social digital self and the sexual digital self, they are doing it to attract attention and what they perceive to be attention. And what happens when someone places their attention upon you? They are giving you their point of perception of creation. They are giving you their energy.
May you pause for, I have to let that sink in. They create this digital layer, this digital mannequin, and doing it for the likes and the followers, they need that energy. It's kind of like a god or a thought form or a being whose existence is contingent on people giving it that energy. Except instead of a thought form or a god or a spirit or whatever, it's a digital self.
And to wrap it into an expression that we have used before,
Oh wow. Is the digital self like a new form of thought form?
it's a more efficient form of thought form. Because now you can use it with greater efficiency. Instead of taking attention from a group of friends, you can take it from a group across your country, from other countries, from around the world, globally. And when you receive that attention, you receive that energy.
So for example, when I came back from my trip across seas, it was, I think, the morning of, like the day of or the day after a mass school shooting that was televised at an elementary school. I wasn't aware of this, but I could feel that partway through the Atlantic Ocean coming west towards the United States, there is a shift of just rage. and my mind went a million. I was looking out at the clouds and enjoying it for, I don't know, it seemed there was no sense of time, and then just sudden rage overtook me, and my thoughts went a million miles an hour, and I wasn't sure what it was, and I just took it as, this is the American egregore, this is the group mind of rage, because we've been an angry country for a while now. And when I landed, I was informed about the shooting. And this would be an example of that thought form being created so quickly and efficiently because of the digital communication across the entire country.
This would be an example of you re-entering your group mind for this country.
I was sick for 2 weeks afterwards.
And the intensity in which that you received it was from being out of it and being in another. That it became that much more clearer of what you were re-entering.
And that's
But
partially
we are
why
sure,
I felt disconnected.
since you've been back, you've adjusted to those distasteful things. And it has gone back into the hum of the background.
And it's funny because I've been throwing up more regularly too. I've been feeling, and that's part of why I've been feeling disconnected, because I don't feel like I belong, and I also feel that no one else belongs to this violent group mind. We're just so focused and entranced by it. And there are times I feel like I just want to move their focus outside of that and say, like, look, there's a lot more than this anger. There's a lot more than this rage. So that's part of my feeling disconnected from people.
And it's an adjustment period. But it comes down to a choice. If you're not connected to that, then what would you choose? You do have an option.
And that's one of the motivations for this digital declutter of, if I don't have access to the memes and the TikToks and the Instagrams and the WhatsApps and all that, all I have is phone calls and simple texts. I'm just choosing not to connect into it anymore. It's eating me alive, even though I know it is, even though I think I'm conscientiously choosing not to be part of it. I'm still pulled into it. I still am pulled into the phone and checking the news and checking the memes and the political everything. I'm still checking just it's that taste of being away from it was so, it felt natural, and then I'm just pulled right back into it. And so I think decluttering, and without distracting myself with audiobooks and music and all that, I can sit with whatever is going on with my thoughts, because everything seems to be on my periphery. It's I don't know how to explain it other than, all I know is I'm using these digital media, not necessarily social media, but even music and audiobooks and podcasts to distract my mind, to keep my thoughts busy. And I'm doing this for a few months because every time I'm in silence, I feel a raging battle going on.
And in this, we're going to pause and rewind back to the explanation that we were giving. You personally asking the question, you're at a good junction for us to simply answer it and close this part of the conversation. However, we must keep in mind that others are listening, and to them, this is new information. They're not following your particular journey, so it's of particular intellectual interest of things, points that they have not considered to realize before. So we're going to go back and complete the different shade paintings that we were doing, shades of this painting, and then circle back to what you just said.
Okay.
So we created an image of the ones who are seeking energy from others to fill that cup, to have that sense of empowerment, to have that sense of acceptance. And isn't it interesting that it becomes more and more obsessive to protect that digital self? And what's enough? How many followers? How many likes? How many comments? All attain backwards to a worth, wanting it to ever grow increasingly larger. At any point in time, energy like that becomes a vibrational sickness because you feed on it as source, and it is not, and it twists you. Now we go to the flip side of the mirror. What about those at home who are paying attention to such individuals? Where are they? And how does that picture look for them? There are those who in their mind will never meet the standards of society. They do not look a certain way, they do not act a certain way, they would never have that type of personality, have that type of confidence, and they live their life by giving their attention to those they think that does. Because through that digital self that the other is projecting, they can get a sense of that being, the sense of what that was like. If I follow and are friends with the popular people, I get to peer in and take energy back from them and feed off of what it is that they are selling to projection of a successful digital self. Because I can't have that, but you do. And so while I watch your life, I feed off that. And so understand the feeding goes both ways.
Oh, wow. It's, so icon, follower. So it's kind of like a toxic symbiotic relationship, and it goes back to what we talked about with money, about worshiping. Instead of worshiping the golden calf, this is worshiping idols, false idols. It's
Correct.
not. It's taking the focus from self to others.
Correct. And now we get to the other side of the sexual digital self. Again, the group of individuals that believe in societal standards of what sexual beauty is and what it does. And they will never match that image in their mind. What they have is not enough. And so their idea of sexuality is to live it through the digital self by feeding off of others, the entertainers, not fans only. And no matter how they feed, it leaves them hungry.
Hey, hey, hi, hey, hey.
But what they will never do is allow themselves sexual satisfaction with their actual body. And so we have made the statement before that your society is built upon the fact of you stealing energy from each other, instead of connecting in harmony and allowing it to flow to naturally acknowledge and become part of the extension of that energy, to harmonize with what is around you, and which includes people, places, and things. Instead, your society is built on taking that energy, even in the assumption of giving. Its secret motive is to take. Because one way or another, you believe you are not enough. And so you create digital selves that is a lie. But it gives you the illusion of connection. It gives you the illusion of experiencing sides of yourself that you don't have the bravery to actually do. It allows you a whole world where you don't have to actually do anything. And so it takes the initial issue and compounds it tenfold. Soon technology will advance to the point that you will be able to put on gear to lose sensation of your physical self and receive the sensation and ideas of the digital self. And it is on the cusp of going from using just the optics for sensation, the hearing for sensation, and to be able to bring that sensation into the physical channels and centers of the body. Touch, sensation. The thoughts and emotions will not know the difference, because what is their job?
To translate the sensations that we perceive outside
Into
thoughts and emotions.
We joke. Emotions and thoughts, their purpose, when you project them, is to take the who, what, where, why, when, and give it a convincing physical construct. Understanding that purpose, and now taking that within the digital self, would it not shine? Would it not be the engine that would run the machine? What would it care if it's real or not? Does it care about what's real now? It does not. Because the who, what, where, why, or when is all made up imaginative constructs.
How's that different from now?
Exactly.
Or even from the 20s and 30s?
Exactly. But now put it into an environment where it doesn't have to worry about physical consequences in any way, shape, or form.
Pause right there. That's powerful. Wow.
And
That's powerful. That's liberating.
we boil it down to a line from a movie, which would be The Matrix. Morpheus said, "What is real?" when dealing with the digital self. How would it know the difference? And as always, the technology is presented in commercials showing students learning, educational systems showing cells and parts of the galaxy that you can actually touch and expand to give optical demonstrations of what it is to further learn the universe.
Can I call that shit out? Go ahead, sorry.
We will do it for you.
Okay.
Your society has shown it has no interest in learning about the universe, its place within it, and how it works. What it does have an interest in is using every tool available to find a way to steal energy.
And that's what a lot of people say when I have conversations. They praise, and I'm going to refrain from saying that. They praise the power of this technology because they say now with Google and everything, we have all this information on the in our pockets. And I call bullshit, because how many of you have encyclopedias on your phone? How many of you how often do you go to Wikipedia? And how much of it is spent following each other, watching, looking up memes, looking at porn, commenting, and looking at social and political things. And I'm not dissing those. All I'm saying is, miss me with your bullshit about now we have all this information in our pocket when you're spending 90% of it on non-information, non-educational related things.
And this brings us back to the point, now that we've painted the picture for everyone to consider, not believe, consider, to open your awareness to what it is you're actually dealing with. Now we bring it back to center. There is nothing wrong with the technology, and we are not against technology. Other races have used this to do surgery, to work with energy lines and grids within the body that's so finite that you need the technology to be able to harmonize and see it to heal. There are many applications for it. The issue is not the technology. The issue is what you choose to do with it. And it still comes back to why? What is your motive? What are you doing with it, and why do you need it? Because whether it's with the technology or no technology at all, and we take it back to the 17th century, it's still the same poison within your mind. It's still working the creation equation the way that you're still currently working it. By projecting yourself into the future and then planning on what you're going to do when you catch up with it. And that will bring you peace.
I want to clarify to the viewers at home. I'm a scientist by training. I've learned a lot. Technology has helped advance us. I am 100,000,000,000% pro technology. What I'm discussing isn't technology per se, it's the digital ecosystem. if that makes sense. It's not vehicles. It's not PCR machines. It's not telescope telescopes. It's none of that, and it's not so much even computers and word processing. It's not so much programming. It's the digital ecosystem that we have constructed through forums, social media, news outlets, and digital content that we consume, including online gaming. That's what I'm specifically talking about. So I want you guys to know I'm not anti-tech. I'm just bringing up what's happening with our digital ecosystem. And I personally believe there's a lot of potential for spiritual growth that can come through the digital ecosystem.
And that is incorrect. The digital ecosystem will not bring you spiritual growth.
It can provide an outlet.
No,
Can it not?
it cannot. You missed the point of what we've been saying and continue to say. Spiritual growth will come from within. What that being now does with the tools around it and revisions life is entirely different. But you cannot go outside of yourself for that. It will not bring you closer to it.
What about using it as a forum like this? This is an example of providing in a digital ecosystem a conversation that hopefully people will find useful in their spiritual growth. What I'm learning, how I learned astrology and have connected with my spiritual family has been through a digital ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. And we are connected regardless of this. So whether it was this, a local town hall meeting, someone on the road that just happens to come to travel by, it is the connection that does it, not the means of its travel.
It's just a means, so there's nothing intrinsic about our digital ecosystem that provides spiritual growth or this form of learning. It's the connection.
It's the connection. So let's just say the healing aspect. And the person is a healer. They heal through energy. They come across the technology and they realize they have the inspiration spark within their brain that using that technology, if you fine tune it to the body system's energy grid, that allows them to visually see it in ways and experience it that their body is incapable of. And they create it. And now they use it as a means of communication with the body to straighten out the energy grids. A psychic surgery, if you will.
So,
in a more finite way. What was doing that? Was it the technology that inspired them, or was it the wisdom from within, using it as a means of communication? And therein lies the problem. And we go back to the original thing that we said that we'd come back to. You want to give up the technology to see what it's like not having it and not have that energy there.
I want to correct you. I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving anything up because I'm disconnecting because I actually don't know if it's actually giving me anything. So I don't know if I'm giving anything up. That's the point of the experiment. Am I giving it up?
Fair enough. But either way, for that time period, for that focus, which is what we're talking about, that moment, you are giving it up. Whether that's going to be a forever, which doesn't exist, in that moment, you are giving it up, is our perception. The importance is understanding not in the focus of what you're giving up, but the clarity of what you really want to connect to. And on this, we will pause. Sorry, bathroom break.
That's okay. Perfect place.
We'll be right back, folks.
I know what a recording button looks like. It's funny. Before you start, I went to go check the phone to set up the recorder, and I got a text message of like, "Hey, Mansoor, what you up to?" And I felt obligated to say, "Hey, let's talk later." And I'm like, "No, I'm here with you, with Spirit. I don't need to disconnect and talk to someone else. I don't want to. I'm not obligated." So it was just like a stab, and not that they meant anything negative. They're just checking in on me, but there's that pull of like getting out of the moment and starting to spiral down my self-consciousness and all this shit. So interesting. Hey Google, turn off living room light. See how digital we are? All right. All right, Goliath, I know you're excited. We're going to pick up your stuff.
Forgive us for the interruption. No matter how many times we tell him the wisdom, it is never a good idea to take sips of cold coffee before meeting. He does anyway. He could be stubborn that way.
Oh, I don't know that.
So, as we were saying, what we want to bring your attention to, and we want to make clear, is that there's no wrong or right way of approaching what you are approaching. Our point and suggestion to you is that there is a deeper reason of silencing that voice in which the focus is upon. Silencing the voice, or gaining a better clarity and understanding that you consciously you are attempting to hear something else. What you put in your perception will change the outcome. You can focus on silencing that voice, and you will come out of the experiment with tons of information about that voice being silent. Or you could take conscious responsibility of what it is that you're trying to hear and put your energy and attention there and come out of the experience with a clearer connection to that. And that resolves the issue of the other voice to begin with. Because what it is not, or what it is of no importance. What is important is a clearer connection to what is. Come out with that wisdom, and we will say you will understand the experiment that you were trying.
Oh, that's beautiful. Ooh, it's a subtle difference. It's a very subtle difference, but it's so important.
On the pinpoint of a perception, which hallway will you walk down? And often, when you try these things, you take the one focusing on what you're trying to stop and come out with lots of information about what it is not, what life was like without it. And as our son would say, for an example, crudely, it is like having two piles of poo before you. One is regular poo, one is poo with nuts. And there you sit, going back and forth between the two piles of poo, explaining why the one with nuts is better because it has texture.
Mm-hmm.
It is still a pile of poo. And so we wanted to take a moment to give clarity, to say, do you understand what you're trying here? And do you understand the inner purpose of it? And can you feel and recognize the energy around you that has helped to motivating this. Because there is an invitation for a meeting.
Yes, I see it, and sticky notes. That's what pulled me.
Exactly.
That's what's been pulling me to finally pull the trigger and place an order on this phone. It's these sticky notes.
Exactly. The point of the experiment is having that sticky note go into a paragraph. And so the new expression is not sticky note. The new
Memo.
expression is paragraph.
I'm going to call it a memo just to stick with the office analogy.
Fair enough.
Sticky note. Note to a memo.
Keep your eye on the ball.
Good callback. Yeah, that's the parable of feeding the good wolf over the bad wolf. What do I choose to feed? And as you were saying that, you're right, and I understand the wisdom of my husband in that I work so hard in cutting things out, because I'm focusing on the negatives, my perceived negatives of what I got from them, whereas I'm being pulled towards this deeper wisdom. These sticky notes are leading me to a deeper wisdom, and I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing on the ropes holding me back.
Correct. A point of interest. It is not a deep trance channel this time. Both of you have low energy today. And so there's still very much a part of him present listening. And when he heard you speak of this experiment, inwardly he rolled his eyes.
I know. That's why I wanted to talk to you instead of him.
You would have gotten the same wisdom either way. It would have been about the third or fourth day of talking about all of the value of what you're discovering of not having not, that he would have pointed out maybe you should focus on what you are, what you can get. And usually in his genteel manner.
Aha. If he doesn't mind, I would love to have another session Monday, because I know tomorrow he's probably going to be drained. Let's keep going on as long as he has the energy. Otherwise, I'd love to continue talking to you Monday.
Okay. We will let you discuss that with him after the meeting.
Okay,
we
perfect.
are willing. But as always, he'll say it depends upon his work schedule. But we are willing. There is much to lay upon the foundation. Now, for this part, was there another question for us?
No, I just I think it's important to bring up the digital era, and the fact that a lot of people are looking for spirituality. That's a weird wording, but a lot of people feel like they're missing something and they want more of that liberation or spirituality or whatever you want to call it, especially in the digital age. And I just think it's very important to discuss it, because even though we are quote unquote more connected, we're actually disconnected, more and more disconnected.
And again, it comes down to how to correct the original issue. And when you gather everyone in mass that already have misperceptions to create the ruse that this is a place where there is none. It's sure to create a leader who will give you that impression. One who gets the attention and those who give the attention, each feeding off each other in different ways. But wait, that's what we came to stop. But yet we recreated it in God's name. Well, let's get a building and call it tax-free.
I just have to say this last bit that you were talking about really, I'm glad I brought it up because I go in with a better design of experiment.
The conversation is always, while entertaining and informative to others, we will use it to hit a broader spectrum of the group mind, to give information, to bring clarity. It is and always has been about you, your path, and your growth. And choosing to use that as an opportunity to extend through for others. Oh wait, we were just practicing what we preached. And it would not matter whether it was being done through video, through people being present, someone passing by, or just us. It would occur. Which doesn't even begin to address once your mind changes, because again, what you have in order to successfully learn, you must give it away.
Yes. I have a pull that this hunkering that this wisdom I'm being pulled towards part of it is really connecting with my values, because that's one shocker of sitting down writing what do I value, no fucking idea, and really connecting with purpose. And it comes down to how can I, I'm going to put it there. I'm strongly convinced I'm a teacher. And I have to take whatever I'm gaining now and learning and conveying it to others, because it really is taking your head out of the pile of shit and looking at the sun. I don't know how else to explain it. It's that's where I feel these memos are leading to. And I think pulling towards that wisdom is gonna, you know what? I'm just gonna be pulled towards that wisdom, and we'll see where it goes.
Good.
Yeah.
We want to bring this part to a conclusion by stating to everyone to take a moment and consider the randomness of the world, the differences of the paths that are present upon your world. Those that preach spirituality, those that preach religion, all of the multitude of textures to bring you to a point of awareness, enlightenment, heaven, nirvana, however that comes. that there is a point within it that it always comes down to a fundamental truth that what you seek, you already are, and what you are comes from within. Inevitably, the teachings in some form or some way talk about some form of detachment to what is physical and listening to what is within. And within channeled works, channeled meetings, channeled writings, we always come back to the same basic principle. And the simplicity of it, we say this not to be insulting, but it helps put it in perspective of stepping back and seeing the larger point of view with a laugh. We relate it to a power socket in the wall. Don't touch that, it will shock you. Zzz. Don't touch that, it will shock you. Zzz. Don't touch that, it will shock you. Zzz. And here we are, how many centuries later? Don't touch that, it will shock you. Still saying, go within, therein lies your answer. Go in, therein lies the voice of God. Go in, therein lies the peace waiting for you to accept. That which you seek, you already are. And there's only one place to find it within. And when you do, and you accept it, and it begins to flow through you, we understand the word teacher, but in your minds, it's still plugging in and touching the socket. Not for power, but for the shock of it. Because the way that term is used.
Mm-hmm.
So we will say, we are not teachers of the universe. We are demonstrators of the universe. Because it's the only choice we have, is to demonstrate and extend that which is extending through us. To join its will, to express with its will, and discover more of ourselves. Understanding that there is no limit to the shades, to the colors, to the canvas type, to the brush type. No painting is impossible, but we simply demonstrate through it, which is no more different than when one of you are inspired and create something magnificent, like a beautiful building, artfully inspired, a beautiful poem, a heart-wrenching song, a new medical technique that saves lives. Can you truly say in those moments where your thoughts began and the inspiration ended? Can you truly say you were alone? What was that? And what were you doing with it? You were extending it. You were demonstrating it. And the end result is always something beautiful to behold. A benefit to society. A way to stop and end pain that is needless. And so we encourage you to look at your path. If you're going to dedicate towards something, don't dedicate towards the idea of being a teacher. What would you teach? How could you teach what they already know? And what could you be? A demonstrator. And demonstrating to others what happens when you allow it to flow through. And we will end this section before we move on to the next.
Thank you.
That's a first.
What? Him just chilling?
More than just chilling,